Sean, Drum Maniac, welcome to GeeK Talk.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to be here with my fellow band member, Sean Suleman, aka Drum Maniac. So this is the GeeK Talk as part of my Mesh special. Sean, how are you today, brother?
Very good.
So this has never been done before, Sean. I don't think anyone's ever come and sort of done this level of in-depth interview with you.
That's right, it's the first time in the drum cave.
And yeah, it is indeed, every man needs his man cave, and this is, of course, the Drum Mania cave. So let's we're sitting here at your electronic kit. This is a V-drum kit. Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, this is a Roland TD11 drum kit. Got loads of different sounds. So we got this kind of thing. So lots of different stuff. I've also got the SPD SX sample pad to my left. So I've put various samples in this to so I can make my own music up.
This is in the supermarket.
I can mix things up with my drumsticks. Yeah, pretty fun. And you know, as well as having the acoustic kit, we've got this electric setup.
Yeah, we're going to move over to the acoustic kit in a moment, but interestingly enough, and here's a question that I'm sure a lot of fans, indeed something that's I'm wondering is, obviously with Mesh, let's start off, you have how many, you have quite a few drum kits, about 5 drum kits.
Yeah, so I've got the electronic, and I've got my kit over the other side you'll see in a minute, that I practice on and I teach drums on. I've got a green Tama toolkit, the Star Classic. I've also got a Yamaha recording custom kit, which is like a collector's item now, really. It's one of the most renowned drum kits recorded in history. But I got both of those 2 kits from one of my late friends who passed away, a drummer. So I'm lucky to have them. I've also got a jungle drum and bass kit as well, which comes out now and again. So and I've got a kit which lives in Germany.
Of course, that's the kit which we use when we go on tour with Mesh.
Yeah, so Mapec, that's a Mapex. That one stays over there, a Saturn series. Yes, got a nice sound to it. The sound men seem to like it. So I've got a bunch of kits all over the place.
Well, that's an interesting question. So, to the layman's or to people who don't understand drums, why did you decide to use because the kit we use with Mesh is an acoustic kit?
Yes.
So why is it an acoustic kit as opposed to an electronic kit?
I feel that it just cuts through better. It's got a nice big sound to it, and it's a nice contrast to the electronics, which are recorded, on the songs. You come with the acoustic kit, and it's quite powerful. The drummer can sort of hit the drums harder, softer. Sometimes I feel with electronic kits, if they're too low in the mix, you can't hear them, and that'll be the case all the way through a show. I'm just mindful that you might not be able to hear the electronic kit, but you can certainly hear the acoustic kit.
Is it right to say that an acoustic kit can be more dynamic than an electronic?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's more depth to all the drums for starters. If you look at how thin the drums are, much thicker on a conventional set of drums. So the shells are much deeper, so project a bigger sound. I've always felt that it works well.
It's an interesting question. The reason I asked the question is because when I was watching a documentary on Depeche Mode, who Mesh get compared to a lot, Kerry Hopwood, who was involved on their tour, he was involved with the live sound, and he mentioned that using an acoustic drum kit works better because it has more dynamics.
Yes.
At the time, I was thinking, wouldn't it be better to use an electronic kit because Depeche Mode and bands like this are fundamentally electronic? But I think, as you say, it's the combination of both which makes it work better.
Yeah, it makes a bigger performance. It's just a bigger sound all around.
All right, Sean. So obviously, I'm the new boy in Mesh, just joined this year. and I've been thrown into the deep end with a few baptism by fire. But it is good to see. Obviously, you've been in the band since 2007.
Yeah.
So that's about 16 years now.
That's right.
And so, technically, let's say on stage, what is your setup?
So my setup on stage is usually 4-piece kit. Sometimes we use the SPD SX Roland sampler, so I can get a 808 snare sound for some of the early tracks. Yeah. So it just gives another edge to the sound. So yeah, it's usually a mixer with DJ headphones, so the Sennheiser headphones, so I can get a nice clear sound in my ears, which is the track that I'm putting drums into.
And we've spoken about this at length. There is a big challenge to, as opposed to drumming for a conventional band, let's say like a rock band, Mesh being a fundamentally electronic band with conventional instruments, you're fundamentally drumming to a click track, and that brings a whole new level of challenge to it, because you don't have the freedom you would with with a rock band.
So with Mesh, I've got a track. It's not a click track, but it's a track which I put my beats into. There's a bit of bass drum in there, a little bit of snare, a little bit of hi hat, and I fuse my beats into the track. You need to be precise.
Yeah, it's not forgiving, and but the thing is, it's always that because you're human, obviously, and some people might say, why not use a drum machine if you're going to be that metronomic? However, there's always that. This is where it's that human element that you bring to it. But I've also noticed when I'm on stage with you, sometimes you bring in these sneaky little fills and stuff just to you break that rigidness. So it's like you're trying to be, and you're faithful to the song, but trying to keep it interesting at the same time.
Yeah, trying to improvise where I can, try and make it a bit interesting.
Not to the point where you throw us all off.
No, that's right. That's right. There's a happy medium to building the song up and in places, and you can see how the crowd reacts to it. It's quite a buzz when you bring things up and down. Last one standing. For instance, that track is like a rave to me. So it goes up, it comes down, and you can see the crowd really getting into it. So again, the dynamics play a big part,
yes.
But also not overplaying, just playing what the song needs, adding a bit in here and there, some flavour as I call it, because to add that sort of human touch to it.
Yeah, so people sometimes ask me, Vaughn, what is the genre of Mesh? And I think this is the interesting thing without going off topic. A lot of, genres are, I often find a lot of bands, they don't really put themselves into categories. It's usually the fans that put the bands into the categories. I guess I've spoken to Rich and Mark and they said, I guess they've called themselves alternative electronic, or whatever. But the interesting thing is with this type of music, I found I did actually use you before I joined the band. I used you guys on a few of my videos as an example of how the drumming should be done. I've been quite critical and outspoken about a very famous band who I'm not going to mention. Well, I think with the drummer, I think he overplays a little bit. It's very difficult because you want to bring your expression to it, but in this kind of music where it's kind of, there is a lot of pre-production on the stage, you kind of, as you said, you can't let your ego get into it. You need to be subordinate to that track. You can't kind of take over. Do you want to just talk a little bit more about that?
So my background in playing, I also got into electronic music young. I was also listening to a lot of hip hop. At the time, a lot of sampled funk, famous funk drummers. So I added that into my playing. So I try and bring out that kind of funky playing where I can in mesh. There's rock stuff, more rockier sort of beats, but where I can, I try and bring in some break beats and try and liven things up a bit. Sometimes I hear this kind of stuff silently in the background of a track, and I can bring it out live for the listener, and kind of, and I get a good buzz from that. Some great programming of drums by Richard Silverthorne helps me do that, because I can then find that thing within the track and try and make it a bit funkier for live. So I feel there's a lot of rock drummers that might do this kind of thing, and their beats are a lot straighter.
Yeah, no, you do definitely bring, and as I say, as I was rehearsing for some of the shows, obviously I'm rehearsing with the backing track, so I get used to that, and then having you on the stage nicely, I know. I'm standing there, and we are very reliant on you, because if you go out of time, we fall over. But just listening to some of the fills, and you bring a bit of a swing to certain songs, which breaks that sort of, because what you don't want is a boom, boom, boom all the way through.
Yeah.
So you did bring a nice sort of feel to it, and we'll run through some examples of that in a moment. I think there's also a difficult compromise. If you're doing this kind of music, let's take a song like ours, as you say, You'll Be the Last One Standing, and also songs like Friends Like These, which has a really kind of like a Euro kind of dance.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to take the kick away from that and just play it with the acoustic, this is what I found coming back to a previous video where I said, get it right with the drumming. There's an element where we do have some drums on the backing track, and then you can kind of play, but not on every song. Some songs have got no drums on them. So if you just want to sort of talk about that, I think I was watching Faithless as well, and they also have a live drummer, but they have a lot of their kicks on the backing track as well, just to emphasize that. And then I see these bands, electronic bands, who don't do that. They only rely, so to me it's the happy medium between using the electronics and the acoustic kits. Am I making sense?
Yeah, obviously you can enhance the sound that's there. So sometimes there's a bit of a bass drum in there. You can sort of come on top of that and make the whole thing more punchy. And I maybe add some extra kicks in on top.
Yes, and a lot of there are a lot of sort of purists in this kind of electronic music genre. Although we're not in that genre, a lot of bands sometimes. A lot of fans prefer it when bands such as Mesh and people will say, oh, it's better if they don't have a drummer. To me personally, I remember it was back in 1994 when I went to see Depeche Mode live for the first time, and Depeche Mode were always like a keyboard band, but I think seeing Alan Wilder on those drums for the first time made me it takes it to a different level. The challenge then comes is having a drummer that can actually get that right, because you can become a drummer that kind of butchers the music, where you go too far and you start... And
solos start coming into it. And then you're kind of like looking to the drummer as a bigger part of the show than the actual track. The fans are paying to hear the songs they know.
Correct.
First of all, not a load of musicians battling it out.
Yeah.
It may be fun for the musicians to have this kind of a duel, but for the fans, they're probably thinking, what's this? They're a bit confused. So you need to stay true to the songs.
And true to the fans, yeah.
True to the fans, they're paying the money.
Absolutely.
Less is more, sometimes.
Absolutely. So, Sean, you joined in 2007.
Yes.
That was after the production of the We Collide album.
That's right, yeah.
So the albums usually have programmed drums on them. So you haven't actually performed on any of the records. Is that likely to change on the future albums?
I don't know, really. Open to the idea, but we'll see.
And I think to those fans who keep asking me and asking all of us, when's the next album? Watch this space. But I want to just quickly do a practical example here, and we're not sort of geared up for this. I don't have a microphone here. But if we take an idea, an example of a song where Sean will take something and he'll just kind of add a bit of a swing to it, something that's typically metronomic. Let's take the song To Be Alive. So no microphone. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of sing it. Forgive me, Mark, and then just to show you how you sort of work with the groove and everything. So I'm having to read the lyrics here because I only sing on the chorus on stage. So
the verse is quite straight,
okay.
And then we swing it with the chorus.
Okay, so should we just do one verse of the verse and then straight into the chorus, just so the guys can hear how you do your swing thing. Okay, you go. Everyone agrees I should really be pleased. Couples of mine are creatively perfect minds. I of course agree. They just have to imply that I'm losing my mind, losing my mind. And in my own world, you're outside. It feels so imperfect. I wonder why your world isn't mine. It feels so peculiar to be alive. And that's great, because if we listen to the album, it has it's programmed in a certain way, but I like the kind of swing you bring to it, and just to it just moves it on, as I used you in a previous example in one of my videos on how electronic drumming should be done, in just my opinion. You walk that fine line perfectly between respecting the song but also putting the human feel into it, and that's a difficult mark to walk, a line to tread, so to speak. Okay, Sean, so let's just look a little bit more at this V-drum kit you've got there. So once again, you have is that the SPD?
This is the SPD SX, the sample pad. So I've got various voices and samples in there.
So just explain to the people who aren't musicians what you're doing up there. You've obviously sampled or taken little snippets off records and put them onto each pad.
So I've made stabs out of these samples, so they're usable within my drum track. So I can make songs up and make. I'll give an example. So I might play a breakbeat. So you can see there, I've got some samples in there, but a certain length that I require to use that's usable. So yeah, I'll do this, and I've got 100 different things in this, different sort of kits in this sample pad. So lots of different voices and things. So spices up the playing, makes it a bit enjoyable to do.
And we're going to go over to your acoustic set in a moment, Sean, but I'd like to know, what are the pros and the cons between, let's say, a electronic and acoustic set? Obviously, the obvious one being with the electronic set, you can obviously change sounds. So you have thousands of different sounds for different songs, and also you have the convenience. It's easier to transport. But what is your preference, or does it really depend what kind of band you're playing with?
Listen, it's fun to have the electronic set up. Great to practice with, keeps the noise down for neighbours, but nothing replaces the acoustic kit.
It's a little bit like me being a keyboard player and a piano player. You know, I've played some very, very high-end, sampled pianos, but it's not quite the same as playing a genuine. Is that kind of the same? Like
It's
a
a real
piano?
power behind the acoustic kit that you can't replicate on the electronic. I say it's good fun, some great sort of sounds to play around with, great as a practice tool. But yeah, when you go to the kit and you can blast it out on a big stage, there's nothing better.
So for you, if you had to choose, it's acoustic every time.
Yeah.
I think obviously, and with acoustic kits, it's a lot more expensive. It's a lot more specialist thing because you've got different snares.
Yeah,
and
you can.
toms
The snare drum that I'm playing on in a minute is it's about £1,000 just for the snare drum. So same one that the Beatles would have used and Led Zeppelin as a Ludwig. They're renowned snare drums. So a lot of drummers have a lot of expensive snare drums.
So, I mean, you like myself, you're a coach as well for up-and-coming artists, and so you would recommend let's say, an electronic kit for beginners?
Yeah, electronic kit, great for a household where you want to try and keep the noise down, but you want the person to practice. Great practice tool, because often people buy drum kits and sell them because the neighbours are fed up with the noise, and even accomplished players have given up because they can't practice, and as a drummer, 70% is the practice.
Okay, well, so just coming up to your so just to the layman's, to the sort of fans who are not musicians, tell us what that little box is there.
So that box, this box here is very powerful. I'll just run through some of the sounds. So starting with
That's your preset changer.
a rock sound there. We've got a house. And it goes through all these different sounds. So I can keep going through and finding some really cool things. 808 snare on this one, used by Mesh on a lot of tracks.
Bloody marvelous. And it's great. What's amazing about that is typically those types of sounds are played by a drum machine, but to hear those sounds being played by a human, and what you're doing is very difficult to do those really sort of like tight hi-hat things. And just explain to the fans, sometimes on the backing tracks there will be elements of those 808 sounds, but you will play acoustic drum sounds over them and blended. Is that right, to blend them together?
Yeah, that's right. So so I'm sort of mindful of making sure that the snare sound is good.
Correct, and that being mindful of the snare sound that may be on the backing track. And once again, I must emphasize that there aren't drums on all the backing tracks, but some of the backing tracks may have a snare or a kick, and you have to be mindful of that that the frequencies don't clash.
That's right. Yeah. So making sure the snares are not too low tuned. I usually have my snare drum quite tuned quite high to get that real sort of funky kind of sound.
That snap and
real snappy kind of sound, rather than a low level sound, quite snappy. And I usually find listening back to any live performances, it's really important that you got that sort of crack on the snare.
That's right. Okay, well, if you just want to give us a quick solo there, and then we'll move over to the acoustic kit, which is your favourite, I know. Putting you on the spot here, brother. Got a bit of Amy coming at the end there. Loved it. Wonderful.
That's Adele.
Right, we're going to move over to the acoustic kit now. Right, Sean, we're at your Drum Maniac. Give us your Drum Maniac pose. That's it. Okay, so we're on the other side of your drum cave here, as we call it. And this is one of your acoustic sets. As you say, you've got 5. This is your practice set. Before we get into this practice set, could you tell us about the set that you use live on stage with Mesh, and how different is, because you have a UK set as well, which we use for UK gigs?
Yeah, so the UK set is Tama Star Classic, maple shells, got a real professional sound about them. Usually go on stage with a 4-piece kit with Sabian cymbals or Bosphorus cymbals of choice. And a kit in Germany is it's a Mapex Saturn series. Again, both kits are renowned to be really good live, really good mic'd up. Certainly the sound guys, like working with these kits. So it's important that they're pro level kits that I use, to get the sort of sound that you want.
And the kit you've got here, what are we looking at here?
This one here, you might laugh. It's a vintage kit. It was found in a second-hand shop, literally thrown away. And I bought it for £60 for those 3 items there. The bass drum, the top tom, floor tom, and this snare drum is about £1,000. So this one, same sort of snare, the Ludwig Black Beauty limited edition. So a really good crack to it. So really nice to use this kit in the drum cave, with a vintage sound on this surprisingly cheap kit, which I looked up, and it's a Arbiter kit, which is a one-off. So it's a rare vintage jazz style drum kit, but it's fun to play and practice on.
And sorry, you mentioned the 3 pieces you got for £60.
Yeah,
I mean, they sound fabulous to me.
So real nice sort of vintage sound to them. So you can hear the power of the shells with a conventional kit.
And to the people who were going to throw them away, I mean, do you think? I mean, the fact that you got those for £60 makes me think that the people who were throwing them away did not know what they had.
No, didn't know what they had, and when I sort of saw the brand and thought, this is something I haven't seen before. And actually, the guy who made these made them to look like the old Ludwig kit, which was ones that the Beatles used, so the finish, so oyster finish. So I knew it was something unusual, but yeah, I've had it for a while now, and I just love to have this sort of vintage sound for my practicing.
That's great. And the cymbals, are they of any?
The cymbals are these two are Bosphorus. The hi-hats and the ride cymbal, and this one came from the cheap kit, actually, in amongst that £60.
Which one was that?
A real vintage sound about it, quite jazzy.
Very hard sound.
Quite jazzy.
So, Sean, you've obviously got a lot of choice, and with choice, sometimes they say it leads to procrastination. But of course, you've been doing this for a long time. Is it sometimes difficult to decide which combination to use, or you've basically summed it up down to a fine art now?
Yeah, I've got to the sort of stage where I know what's needed for the sound we want to create. I know what's important. I think really less is more. We don't really want to be spending hours and hours setting up kit. So keeping it to a 4-piece kit with minimal cymbals is good for the kind of music that we play. Yeah, less is more, and it's easier to pack away afterwards and faster to set up as well. So keeping those things into keeping it real, basically.
And it also really depends on the the different shows. If it's a tour or something, it depends on the budget and things like that. And that really depends on how much road crew we have, and you do want to keep things simple, I suppose.
Yeah, keeping it simple, and a lot of the time the stage crew, they can set it up pretty well without me being around. Then I can just tweak it myself when I go on to do a sound check. So it's quite important. It saves time, and if you're on the road, gets tiring. So any help you can get with setting things up and helping the guys when they're packing down, and showing a bit of respect as well. I think rather than having loads of gear and creating problems. So.
Sean, can you do us a song from one of Mesh's catalogs?
Yeah, I'm going to show a beat that I play. It's quite a complex beat, but it's for the song Born to Lie. And it's made up of threes, triplets, so twice.
So where would that come in? Because the beginning goes do 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 do.
So I'm just showing you the notes.
Okay.
So when I go into the actual groove, it'll be a.
It took me a while to follow what you were doing, but this is what's so interesting about what you're doing is you're playing a different rhythm to what is on the record, so to speak. But it's like, so for context, I'm going do 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 do. Yeah, so that's very, and that's, as I say, that is I suppose the sign of a great drummer is you're putting something in which is it's kind of not playing against it, but it's go on. What's the timing on that? Thirds.
Triplets.
Triplets, yeah. So it's not whereas you'd expect to go tick 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 tick. That is kind of
Yeah. Like in 4/4 sort of thing.
So
1, 2, 3,
yeah,
4.
and
1,
and
2,
and
3,
and
4.
it,
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1.
yes, and it's making it more interesting because it's also quite dangerous in the sense that it's the more complex you make it, the harder it's easy. The easier it is to make a mistake, so to speak. But hey, man, you've never let us down so far. Right, Sean. So thank you for allowing us into your drum cave today. As I say, there's loads of stuff here. Maybe one day we can do a video where we take each drum out for the budding drummers out there. What advice have you got to people wanting to get into drumming?
Drumming's good to chill the brain.
But not for the neighbours, yeah.
Good to relax, chill the brain, and really, it's a good stress reliever, and it's fun. That's the main thing. It's a fun instrument to play.
How many calories do you think you burn in a show?
A show of about 2 hours, probably burn a good I would have thought a good 800 calories in a 2-hour show. There's a lot of fast stuff, the four to the floor sort of dancier stuff like Friends Like These, From This Height, you have having to be really on point, really fast on the hi-hat cymbals, like this kind of rhythm.
That does remind me when we were doing one of those. This hike was one of those fast songs. I remember standing there and just looking over at you, going, "Bloody hell, that's fast!" Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to keep that up for the whole songs, and there's a few songs like that. So, they definitely do make you sweat a bit more.
And we do rely on you, Sean, because as we say, if I fall over, if you fall over, we all do.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sean, thanks very much for your time in the drum cave today, brother. I look forward to being on stage with you soon, and hopefully a new album. Who knows?
Thanks a lot.